Dirk Nowitzki will go down as one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA. Not just best international hoopers, but the greatest, period. His long list of accomplishments, ranging from NBA champion and MVP to ending in a Hall of Fame career, more than backs up that claim. Besides being the most celebrated Dallas Maverick in franchise history, the 7-foot sweet jump shooting gentle giant from Germany has a strong case for one of the most unguardable shots ever, with a killer fadeaway that often broke the spirit of opposing teams. That's the Dirk we've come to know and love. But that wasn't always how we saw him. Before entering the NBA, Dirk was a mysterious foreign player who didn't look cut out for the league when he arrived. A guy who's too soft to amount to anything. A weak leader. A dude who folded like a wet napkin in crucial spots. Let's meet those versions of Dirk Nowitzki in the Prism. The NBA wasn't always the first choice for this scrawny young baller from Germany. As a 6'11" wunderkind who dominated competition with guard-like skills for a team in Germany's second-tier level league, Dirk considered taking his talent stateside for college ball. The kid had major programs in the US fighting over him, but Cal Berkeley seemed to be the frontrunner. He had already visited the campus, and the university had a scholarship ready for the taking. Declaring for the 1998 draft was also an option, but an unlikely one, as NBA scouts advised him to hit the books while honing his skills for a year or two. But in a shocking turn of events, Dirk entered his name for the NBA. It's hard not to swerve the advice of scouts when you have actual decision makers, NBA legends turned executives Larry Bird and Jerry West singing your praises. The tape that Bird is referring to was a stellar performance from Dirk where he dropped a 30-piece double-double with flu-like symptoms in a '98 Nike showcase against America's top prep talent. Except that one showing was ultimately the only thing teams could judge him on. During the draft process, Dirk had an obligation to fill for the German army that made him unavailable for workouts. His coach also weirded out teams by saying Dirk wanted to develop his skills in Europe. With all the strangeness coming from Dirk's side, the Dallas Mavericks looked the shadiest in all of this. Head coach Don Nelson's son, Donnie, held the skipper position for Dirk's international team during a US tour, giving the Mavs an inside track. Rival GMs believe the Mavs plotted to stash Dirk in Europe with a promise to draft him with their 6th pick. Word on the street bounced around that Dallas prepped to take a flyer on Dirk only if they could swing another #1 pick to present rather than sell dreams. When draft day rolled around, those whispers were confirmed. Kind of. Because of all the potential baggage, Dirk slid past Dallas, falling to the Milwaukee Bucks at the 9th pick, but ultimately got moved to the Mavs in a flurry of trades that saw him and fellow Frosted Tips point guard Steve Nash go to Dallas. Nelson rejoiced in landing the dudes he coveted all along, but Dirk didn't share his enthusiasm. With an NBA lockout looming, signing Dirk wasn't simple, and he got cold feet. As an admitted pessimist, Dirk ideally wanted to stay in Europe to craft his game. Money wasn't a factor, but Dirk wasn't sure he had the right size to compete in the NBA. Dallas did a number of things to court Dirk and calm his worries. Nelson reassured him he had the talent to compete at the highest level right now. The franchise granted Dirk the freedom to leave the team to help Germany qualify for the Olympics. Nelson invited him to a barbecue at his house to get comfy with his new teammates. They even bought the dude his first ever suit. But as the lockout approached and teams wouldn't be able to negotiate with players, Nelson put the heat on Dirk. The head coach feared that Dirk would have other teams in his ear all summer if he didn't commit. So much so that he hinted at the possibility Dallas would have to look elsewhere without Dirk. Ultimately, Dirk did sign, and because of the lockout, got the best of both worlds, returning to Germany to play for his old squad. But when the time came to report to the NBA, Dirk wasn't feeling it. He viewed the transition to the NBA as a bit of a trial run. If things went well, cool. If not, he could always go back home. And when the season tipped off, the Mavericks' gamble to draft Dirk appeared to be an awful roll of the dice. Long before his arrival, European players who made it to the NBA were often tagged as soft, and Dirk didn't do much to escape that label in his first season. He looked awkward on the court, played timidly, and often got destroyed on the defensive end. Within the first 9 games, Nelson had to pull him from the starting lineup. The jump from Germany's second division to the NBA had Dirk shook. The man's teammates even clowned him, calling him Irk, dropping the D from his name because he couldn't stick anyone. Even as Dirk grew into a star, garnering comparisons to the second coming of Larry Bird, he still couldn't shake the soft label. Firstly, Larry's toughness never got questioned throughout his career. Dirk, on the other hand, constantly faced questions. During the 2003 Western Conference Finals, Dirk went down with a knee injury in Game 3 and never returned as the Mavs fell to the San Antonio Spurs in 6 games. Reports circulated that Dirk could have suited up, although not at 100%, and media members flamed him for not rejoining his squad. Experts also questioned his heart for the game. In 2009, Dirk opted not to compete in the Euro Championships based on orders from Mavs owner Mark Cuban, and ESPN's Michael Wilbon was disgusted. What type of leader could Dirk be if he couldn't stand up to his owner? In so many words, Wilbon thought the dude was spineless. It's a tough attack on his character, but the criticism of Dirk only grew louder the more he fell short in his career. The soft label began to be paired with another, choker. Individual accolades don't mean shit if you fold when the lights are bright. After Dallas snatched the first 2 games of the 2006 finals against the Miami Heat, Miami went on to win the championship in 6 games, mostly thanks to Dirk vanishing in the series. It all started in Game 3. Late in the final seconds, Dirk missed a clutch game-tying free throw that would have potentially forced overtime. There's no guarantee the Mavs would have won that game, but as a 90% free throw shooter and supposed leader of that team that blew a 13-point lead in that fourth quarter, the loss fell solely on Dirk's shoulders. His performance in the following matchup left more room for reporters to question him. Dallas got tossed in Game 4, where Dirk went a dreadful 2 for 14 from the field. He played slightly better the rest of the series, but as Miami hoisted the trophy, the damage had been done. Dirk underperformed in the past, like his poor outing in a crucial Game 6 of the semifinals the previous season, but as he fell apart in the finals, journalists wondered if he had that dog in him to lead a team to glory. Media members are often harsh on athletes, but it's rare for colleagues to straight up diss another player. After winning that 2006 championship, Dwayne Wade pointed to Dirk's lack of leadership being the reason Dallas blew their lead. When the going got tough, D-Wade thought the moment got too big for Dirk and he pissed down his leg. Losing in the finals certainly isn't ideal, but Dirk's debacle the following season seemed unforgivable. As the projected MVP winner and owner of the NBA's best record, Dirk and the Mavs got embarrassed by his former coach Don Nelson and the 8 seed Golden State Warriors in the first round of the 2007 playoffs. In a historic upset, Dirk again just flat out disappeared. He set the tone with a terrible Game 1, which sparked journalists to wonder if that's just who he was. He bounced back and stepped up a bit as the team split the next 4, but in a must-win Game 6 on the road, Dirk stunk up the joint. Behind a god-awful shooting performance by Dirk, Dallas got packed up in a great season that was all for nothing. Dallas owner Mark Cuban claimed Nelson used confidential info to beat his team, but journalists weren't buying it. By that point, everyone down to this media member's cat saw Dirk as a choke artist. Even after awkwardly being awarded the MVP trophy soon after that shocking defeat, that opinion was the consensus throughout the media. It all weighed heavily on Dirk. After officially being crowned MVP, the loss to the Warriors still haunted him, and Dirk didn't feel deserving of the award. A mindset that continued throughout the offseason. Instead of hitting the gym to work on his craft, Dirk ditched basketball completely and wandered the Australian outback with his mentor. He pulled his best Bear Grylls impersonation, skipping showers, sleeping in cars, letting himself drift out to sea, and stared into blazing campfires, asking himself, why me? It was grim. He might have been far removed from ball, but experts had an entire summer to trash him. ESPN's John Hollinger threw him into his list of players who he believed fell off. And in the eyes of some media members, the whole Australian escapade made Dirk look even more fragile. Dirk continued his all-star caliber play over the next few years, but as the hits kept coming in the form of first-round exits, Dirk seemed doomed to a legacy labeled as a great player, but a failure when it mattered most. Until he finally broke through in the 2011 season, leading the Mavs to their first ever title, which didn't come easy. Throughout the playoffs, Dirk and the Mavs swept the two-time defending champion Los Angeles Lakers in the semis, before taking down the upstart OKC Thunder in 5 games of the Western Conference Finals. Even in his return to the biggest stage, Dirk still had to field questions about being soft. Something he emphatically answered, slaying the highly favored Heat in a series where he battled through injury and illness en route to winning Finals MVP. As Dirk lifted the Larry O'Brien trophy, winning cured all as he finally shed his past labels. But in reality, it's not like Dirk magically changed anything. He remained the type of player who would rather kill you with his sweet jump shot and finesse rather than bully opponents. He didn't flip a switch and suddenly turn into a dude that beat his chest after each and won. He just constantly went out and competed to the best of his abilities in his own style. Although he never made it back to the finals after that season, Dirk's career was Teflon from that point on. It's more than easy to sit back and label Dirk a pioneer of the game for foreign players, but that wasn't always the case. For years, he was viewed as a weak leader, a failure, a massive underachiever who would never win the big game. But now, Dirk is widely regarded as a legend, and he did it all his way. Yo, thanks for watching this episode of Prism. Just want to take the time to give a special shout out to our top secret agents. Those are the $10 patrons whose names are beautifully displayed on screen right now. We also have a $5 option that comes with some sweet stuff as well. That instance where D-Wade called out Dirk got even more real, so if you want to learn more about that, check out this episode of Beef. Or you could just peep anything on our channel because it's all fire.